All right, welcome to Pearman Fitness. This is Touch to Know with Cambria Marshall.
So on our last video, somebody commented that they were having issues with their hamstring. If we could demo a quick release for the hamstring, so that's what we're going to do with you guys today. Hey guys. So today we're talking about the hamstrings, but as you can see, I have Johnny facing forward and we're looking at his quads. What a lot of people don't think about is when we have a big ball in the back of our hamstring, a lot of it is coming from the quad. It's coming, I think of the leg as one big unit. So you can't just think of one area as being tight, everything is connected. So if you look at these muscles on the side of the quad here, a lot of the tissue attaches to the back side of the bone and pulls on the hamstrings. So before we even start with our little release in the hamstrings, I'm gonna have Johnny lay face up and we're just gonna loosen up all of this tissue here. It's gonna give us a lot better chance of releasing the hamstrings and for it to stick longer. All right, so now that Johnny's laying face up, I'm just gonna take the palm of my hand, which is where we have our most feeler sensors, and I'm just gonna place my hand on his quad, and I'm just gonna touch the top of the skin. Now, I'm just gonna start moving my hand around, kind of like pawing. Like imagine you have a dough ball here, actually, and you're just trying to start to spread it out. I'm feeling for any tightness underneath my hands. I can feel that his quads are a little tight. So I can probably tell that the back of his hamstring is tight. If I reach underneath the hamstring, I can even feel it as well. So with a light to medium pressure, I'm just gonna start to be curious with my hands and moving the tissue back and forth over top of the bone. I'm not gonna be pressing down into the bone, I'm gonna be pressing away. I'm gonna be kind of moving the tissue where it wants to go. Johnny, is this painful at all? No, it's not painful. I'm not trying to anchor down or anything. I'm not trying to cause Johnny immense pain. I'm just trying to warm everything up so that it makes our release in the back more effective. So I'm gonna work all the way up to the attachment at the hip. And I'm gonna think like I'm kneading out some dough. I can use all parts of my hand. I could be pressing with the palm, or I could kind of be grasping with the fingers down to the knee, upwards. I can even get a little bit of the side of the IT band by working underneath and on top at the same time, just kind of moving everything around. Remembering that the heat from my hand is doing a lot of the work too. It's opening up the tissue, even if it feels like I'm just pressing really light. So after I feel like that tissue is nice and relaxed and it's a little bit more warmed up, I'm gonna have Johnny flip over for me. But remembering, if this area feels super, super tight, spend some time here. Spend some time and really get it to where it starts to soften underneath your hand. So for the purposes of this video, I'm going to work, you see I'm working the other side of his hamstring, but ideally would be working the same side that I just worked the top. So I want to create slack in this muscle. So I'm going to lift up his calf and I'm going to place it underneath my thigh. So this creates a nice relaxed position for us to work into the hamstring. So again, I'm gonna start by just taking my hands and just placing them gently on top of the skin. You know, I can start to maybe push a little bit into it just to feel where the tightness is. Do I feel a lot of tension in the center? Or do you feel like one band is sticking out more than the others? You can kind of lightly press down just to orient yourself with where your friend's tension is. So I can feel that Johnny especially has some tension right on the outside here. So today we're going to be working fascially, which means we're going to be working the casing tissue around the muscles. And this is the easiest way for us to show you how to do this, like where you can do it anywhere. You don't need a bunch of oil or anything like that. In fact, don't use anything at all unless you have somebody who's particularly hairy, then you can use just a little bit of Tiger Balm on your hands. But this is gonna be like an active fascial release. So I'm gonna have Johnny, while I'm doing the release, moving his calf on, rolling it on my thigh. So you can cue your friend by saying, move your heel right and left and roll your calf on my leg. So this is rotating the bone in the upper leg. So it's gonna be doing part of the work for us as I'm doing the compression. So after your friend understands what that motion is, you can have them stop, and with a nice soft fist, you can go right above the knee. Remember not to go onto the back of the knee. There's too much stuff in there we don't want to work. Go right above the knee and press down a little bit until you feel a resistance, and then vector up. Now my pressure is about a medium right now. It's not too crazy. I'm not like, I'm not, again, I'm not trying to pin Johnny's hamstring to the bone. I'm just sinking down till I feel that first bit of resistance, and then I'm vectoring up to work the tissue a little bit. Then I'm gonna ask Johnny to continue that movement, rolling back and forth. Now if we're on a nice spot, you're gonna feel the strands underneath your hand. You're gonna feel them start to let go. At first, it's gonna just feel kind of like sticky and hard to work with, but just wait it out. The heat from my hands is gonna heat up the tissue. The movement of the bone that he's doing is really gonna help to expand and open the hamstrings. Now, in my practice, I use a lot of different ways to open up the hamstrings, and when I'm doing this, I can sit here for, you know, a good minute or so and really let this open up. So after you feel like that, and you'll feel them separate just slightly. You'll feel it like not feel so clunky.
Like fanning out.
Yeah, it'll be fanning out. Does that feel good, Jenny? Mm-hmm. That's really nice. And if your client, like if your friend wants more pressure, you can kind of lean forward, lifting up from the legs, and give them a little bit more. Okay. Okay, and go ahead and stop that movement, Johnny. And you're just gonna move up. And I think usually on most people you can do this 3 times. So the center is usually the hardest. So I'm gonna sink down to resistance and then vector up. And I'm gonna ask for a movement again. Can you roll your back and forth? Good, awesome. Again, I'm gonna sit here for a minute to a minute and a half, letting that open. And then I'm gonna move to the upper attachments. Now you're gonna feel a side, especially right here, that's gonna be tighter than the other. Now remember that side and ask them, like, ask them to remember where along the line here when we do this is the most painful, and we'll come back to that spot and focus in on it. So I'm gonna go ahead and move on to our next spot, even though it hasn't been a full minute and a half. You can relax here and we'll go up. Now you can go up all the way to where the glute stops and the hamstrings go into the hip. And you can even anchor up against the bones here. You'll feel the little joints. Okay, continue. Remembering to press down to resistance and then up. Okay, so then we're gonna focus on the area that was the most painful for him. I'm gonna go back to the center here where I felt the most tension, and you can just ask them. And I'm gonna place my left hand, if I'm working on the left side of him, into that area. I'm gonna scoop back a little bit on his leg, and I'm gonna grab his foot with my other hand, and I'm really gonna anchor down a little bit harder. Remember, pushing down and then up. And I'm gonna rotate the leg back and forth. Is this too much for you, Johnny? Mm-hmm. No. A lot of people can take quite a bit of pressure. If this is bothering your wrist, then you're probably collapsing in your hand. Get up higher and use more of your body to lean in. And rotate back. You'll feel it separating underneath your hand. This should feel pretty good if somebody's got a good spot. Now, if I feel like I'm leaning in too much, I can just switch arms. Leaning in and opening up that tissue. Aha, there it goes. So after I feel like everything has started to really separate, I can even do a little bit of rocking with my hand and kneading that out. So again, it's kind of like in the front. I'm pushing the tissue away from the bone, and I'm just moving his leg. I'm kind of moving the bone underneath my hand. Play around, experiment a little bit. Just check in with your partner. They'll give you good feedback on whether or not this feels good or not. And then just to finish up, you can grab a little bit of Tiger Balm, or I like to use unrefined shea butter in its organic raw form. And I'll put a little bit on my hands and I'll just slide up the tissue, and I'll just kind of work the tissue up towards the heart, because you always want to be doing tissue releases up towards the heart. And I'm just gonna smooth out everything that I did. You can sink in, starting at the knee all the way up to the attachments here, until it's nice and open and relaxed. And just a quick note at the end, remember that the tightness is probably coming from the quads, coming from the hip. So go ahead and do a little bit of glute work for your friend. We demoed this last week. Or you can just, make sure to check in with the calf and just give it a little love too. You can just shake it. Even though we're not really focusing on this today, you can kind of just do what you did in the front with the quad and just kind of shake loose from the bone, and making sure that it feels a little relaxed as well as with the hamstring. All right guys, thanks for joining us here at the Touch to Know series. Again, we went over the hamstrings today, so if you have any questions or comments, please write below and we'll do our best to answer them all. Or if you feel like you have anything else you want us to clarify, we can do another video for you. See you next time, and thank you so much.